Greetings, good people! In today's daily discovery, we're going to find out how you can take your milk that you drink every day, I guess, and improve it without any cost and without any time required to be more rich in protein, the same milk, yes, as well as more rich in minerals. Oh, and also vitamins. Stay tuned to find out how. So the way to make your milk into a super milk is basically to turn it into kefir. English speakers may pronounce that kefir, because, you know, why not? And this is very simply how to do it. This is a jug with the last kefir you've made. Nothing special, you just leave a little bit at the bottom. And this is a bottle of milk, pasteurized milk. This one is organic. You should always go for organic. Non-organic things should normally not exist in general. But it's better if you go for organic because it doesn't have any chemicals or other things that can interfere with the process. I removed the label because I don't want to advertise that brand. You can use any brand you want or any milk you want from any animal. And all you need to do is take this jug and dump this milk in it. You don't even need to stir or anything like that. That's it. There you go. You leave this outside in room temperature. When I say outside, I don't mean outside of your house. I mean just on a table or somewhere in your house. Room temperature. And you leave it there for a day, or maybe if your culture is very active, you can leave it overnight. It will still become kefir, but it's not going to be as strong. The more you leave it out in room temperature, the stronger it will be. Then you put it in the fridge if you want to drink it cold like I do. And then you basically have kefir until this finishes. By the way, when I'm going to go back to the kitchen, I'll fill it up to almost to the top. And so then you put it in the fridge and you have kefir for the entire day or more. It depends on how much you drink per day. I basically kind of tend to drink a lot. So how does this sorcery happen? How do you turn something as simple as milk into something that has even more protein, minerals and vitamins than you put inside? Well, the answer to that is microbes. Kefir contains certain strains of microbes, and they are mostly bacteria, but there are also some yeasts. And what those microbes do, once you introduce them into the milk, which by the way has to be pasteurized for that reason, because if you don't pasteurize it, then those will have to compete with the natural occurring microbes in the milk of the animal. And even though I do believe that raw milk is more healthy than pasteurized milk, in this case, because you want to inoculate it with those bacteria and yeasts, you want it to be pasteurized so that they don't have to compete with other ones. So once you dump the milk in there, what happens is that the microbes get mixed with the milk and they start eating stuff from the milk. Specifically, they eat the lactose, the sugars, things like that. They multiply, and by multiplying, they also multiply the effect they have. And the extra proteins and the extra vitamins and the extra minerals that you obtain by this process occurs just because of the activity of those microbes, as well as the microbes themselves, because you eat those too when you drink kefir. Now, there is the misconception that the main reason why you should drink kefir is because those microbes are probiotic, which means that they establish themselves in your intestines and they basically convert some fibers and some other things there into something useful for you. This is only partly true, and I will explain why. First of all, let me say that we don't know which strains of microbes, of yeast and especially of bacteria, there is in kefir. Every kefir is different, and at least here they don't have any obligation, it seems, to write on the label what strains they contain. So it can have anything. That being said, the kefir that existed traditionally, that came from the Caucasus Mountains, it just contained anything it picked up through the years because they did not have any sterile processes. They just had a like I have. They had like a jug of milk, and that was their kefir, and they were using that to inoculate the next batch, so that could pick up anything from the atmosphere or anywhere else. So through the years, that evolved. What determined which bacteria and yeasts dominated the kefir was more or less the temperature, because different bacteria and different yeasts, they have different optimal temperatures that they function best at. Probiotics, which is things that are meant to, thrive in your intestines, they have evolved to be better adapted to the body temperature, which is, let's say, about 36 degrees Celsius. That temperature is significantly higher than the room temperature in which kefir is being made, and particularly the fridge temperature that you put kefir in afterwards, after it's made. That means that the bacteria and the yeast that get ahead in here, they are not the ones that will thrive in your intestine, so they're not the ideal probiotics, even though some of those that are in kefir can act as probiotics because they are able to withstand a bigger, wider range of temperatures, so they can be okay in room temperature, and when they get into your intestine, they can also develop. But for the most part, the usefulness of this is the results of the living process of that bacteria, as well as the bodies, let's say, of those microbes, the yeast and the bacteria. You're basically consuming the end product here, while with probiotics, you're consuming what will then work in your intestine, and that is the benefit in that case. But how do you make this the first time? Because I just told you how to make it, after you already have some of it. Well, it's very simple. You just buy some kefir products from the supermarket or anywhere. You find one that you like, and then what you do is you dump that one in a jug like this, fill it with milk, not to the top, but close to the top, and then stir it. The reason why you want to stir that one especially, well, I don't stir this one, I just, this will be done by itself, this will be fine. But you stir that one, the first batch, because you want the kefir microbes to activate, because they've been in the fridge for many days without new milk feeding them, so they do enter, due to temperature and also lack of nutrients that they can eat, let's say, they do enter into a dormant state, and they need to be woken up. So to do that, you add some milk, pasteurized organic milk, and then you stir them with a spoon. Do not stir them with a stick blender, because stirring that is very fast, very vigorous, especially with blades and stuff that stick blender has, can actually destroy the microbes, can destroy a lot of them, and you don't want that. So just, stir it, normal stirring with a spoon, maybe even with a fork you can do it, or with a whisk, something like that. And after you stir them a little, just leave it in room temperature, and the first batch might take a little longer, so in 2 days, in room temperature, you will have something like kefir. Now, before ending that video, I just want to nerd out a little and, talk about my thinking about the possibility, because I told you kefir happens in room temperature, which in temperate climates can differ, but it's maybe something like 25 degrees maximum. Usually it's closer to 20 in most places in the house, depending on how toasty your house is. But like I said, body temperature is 36 degrees Celsius, which is a lot higher. But it makes you wonder, what happens in tropical climates where they may have that body temperature all year round in the house, or what happens if you make kefir in the summer? Well, that's an interesting thought to consider, and it may actually be worth it to make kefir by using capsules of certain probiotics. In that case, you might actually get even a bigger benefit from making kefir, because if you manage to ferment things such as Lactobacillus reuteri, which is the superstar of probiotics, it's probably the best probiotic you can use, what you can achieve is a fully probiotic kefir. Just ferment it, or let it ferment if the temperature is around 36, 37 degrees Celsius, if it's a hot summer, or if you're in the tropics like I said, let it ferment for 36 hours, which is a day and a half. That's how much you need. Then you will have the most potent and the best probiotic drink you can ever have. And that's pretty amazing. That will, like, if you drink like a small glass of that every day, that will improve a lot of things. But I'll make a separate video at some point about Lactobacillus reuteri, as well as maybe some other ones. Until then, enjoy just your normal kefir, which is still very good because, like I said, it basically improves the milk you drink by a lot. And it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't take any time like you saw. It takes like 10 seconds just to fill the jar with new milk. And the benefits are multiple, apart from a small amount of friendly bacteria which can act as probiotics that it probably contains. It's also very good for digestion because it's also slightly acidic, so it helps with digestion. And also, of course, the minerals and the vitamins and all that also helps with digestion and everything else. And yeah, it's almost like a cheat. It's basically you're using tiny animals to turn milk into something else, and it doesn't cost anything. It's amazing. I would even dare to say that this actually tastes better than milk. If you drink kefir the first time and you think it's too sour, that's because you got a commercial kefir and because it's been sitting on that shelf for quite some time. And probably they're using spoiled milk as well to make it. I guess they pasteurize it again maybe, and then they use, a culture to make it into kefir. So the kefir that you make, like the second batch you make after the first one, that's gonna taste a lot better. It's gonna taste a lot less sour, and it's gonna have a more palatable taste. I personally like it a lot. And I don't know if some people get disgusted by the fact that, kefir is clumpy, because it is clumpy. It's not like a liquid thing, unless you put some chemicals inside of it to make it so. But you shouldn't do that, of course. Just, get used to it. Get used to drinking, plopping things into a glass and drinking them. It's just a lot better this way. I really like this texture. I would not like it to be liquid, to be honest. I like, feeling like I'm eating some kind of thick yogurty milk. It tastes a lot better than yogurt in my opinion. And yeah, no reason not to try it. It also makes you feel a little bit like, a little alchemist. Turning milk into something much better without, the use of anything expensive or anything at all, actually. Apart from some pre-existing bacteria that you already have from the previous batch. So, until the next time, I'd like to thank you all for watching and see you then.